My son Jacob was born in Independence at home in 1993. And Jacob was a light of everybody's life. He grew up with this kind of spirit, like an angel spirit. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his mom. So many people were drawn to him. He had a smile and a pureness about things, about life and about people that you didn't normally see. And oftentimes, my daughter and I would say, how is Jacob going to handle life? He's so innocent, so naive, and he sees things so purely. And we often wondered, how is he going to become a teenager? How is he going to live as an adult? Well, it turns out that Jacob didn't grow into an adult. Jacob was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 17. He had a Ewing sarcoma in his spine. We battled 2 years and he didn't make it. Those 2 years of Jacob's life were some of our closest years. It was a time that was cherished because we got really close, we learned about each other, we learned more about the family and our interactions with each other. Because the tumor was on his spine, he was in a lot of pain. It was in his nerves, it was wrapped around nerves. Pain medication didn't help him completely. He was always in pain. Over the period of 2 years, that tumor touched and grew around different nerves, and it touched different nerves that controlled different functions of his body, and in the end he was paraplegic. And then his brain started to act funny. He started to not be able to consistently do some of the things he could do. I refused to believe that he wasn't going to make it all the way till the end. I was just hoping and praying that he would make it. But it got his other lung. You only have 2 lungs, and so he passed when it did that. And it was challenging for the family, and dealing with it after has been challenging. But we are all have gone on. It's been 3 years. We talk about Jacob openly. It's not a closed subject. We talk about his life and his illness. Well, when he turned 18, we were living in Kansas City, and he decides that he wants to leave and go live in San Diego with his sister, so he did. Within a month, we get a phone call, and he's in the emergency room. So I was on the next plane to San Diego. Within 4 hours, I was flying out there, and when I got there, he was in the hospital, and they needed to do a biopsy on it, and we waited 5 days to see what that was, and that was the longest 5 days of my life. We did everything we knew how to make the outcome be what we wanted it to be. You know, it was just a nightmare. I couldn't sleep at night. But the day came when the doctor had us in the room, and he told us that it was cancer. I must have went into shock because I just stood there and listened. I saw Jacob's face, and he turned his head. He didn't want to hear about it. He didn't cry at that point. I didn't cry at that point. I just went into numb mode, and then I went into mom mode, and then I started taking care of things, just boom, boom, boom. And it was a while before it hit me. I think 2 or 3 months into his treatment, I was sitting in my room one day, and I said, he has cancer. Jacob has cancer. Jacob has cancer. And I cried for the first time, probably 2 or 3 months into the process. It was all I did. It was 2 years of Jacob. I stayed in the hospital with him because he was hospitalized for weeks at a time. He relied on me a lot. I couldn't leave his side. He became paraplegic, so I, did his catheter and did his diaper and did everything up until he passed away. At about 5:30 in the morning, we both woke up, my husband and I, felt like Jacob woke us up. We looked up at the monitor, and his stats were going down fast. We had a minute. Went on both sides of him. My husband on one side, me on the other. I went into the bed with him. My husband was standing on one side, put our hands over his hand. We said goodbye. And we watched him and his breathing slowing, and we watched him take his last breath until there was no more breath. And it was peaceful. It was quiet. And in its own way, it was a beautiful moment. My daughter and I gave him his last bath. We took all his tubes off, catheter, drained it, did everything, and dressed him in his favorite clothing before we left the hospital room. My husband and I did the same for his funeral. We went to the funeral home and we told them we would do the dressing. We would dress him and get him ready for that. So I was with him from the time he was born all the way to his last breath.